of the BRS Supremo, and what you're seeing are dramatic pictures of an arrest of a top political voice as well as of a member of parliament, viewers, from Telangana. This is a particular issue related allegedly to the liquor gate scandal in Delhi, where of course viewers, license were given out, some say arbitrarily license were given out for quid pro quos, backhanders, etc. That is what was said, viewers. Of course, we have still to see how this case is going to play out. But let me tell you, just yesterday, Mr. Sisodia was the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi formerly, who's been arrested now for more than a year and has been in jail, was once again refused bail. So clearly, the charges against some of these individuals are not frivolous, and it is unreasonable to assume that the ED would carry out a raid if it couldn't make some of the charges stick on an individual, especially if that raid then results in an arrest of a high-profile individual as K Kavitha. You saw her brother there, KTR, taking on the ED team, claiming that the ED was acting in a manner that was absolutely arbitrary. But viewers, they had the warrants, they have the powers, and they've executed them. Let's just go straight across to our reporter, Swastika, to get a little bit more on this. Swastika, what can you tell us?
Well, as we speak, Kavitha is making her way out of her residence. She is going to be taken to Delhi. She has been detained in connection with the Delhi liquor scam case, accused of running a South cartel, paying kickbacks to the tune of 100 crores to get ill-gotten licenses. This is the accusation against K Kavitha, and this comes in the backdrop of 6 accused turning into approvers, including the son of former YSRCP MP Raghava Malgunta. In fact, it's being said that it is his statement along with Arun Ramchandra Pillai that the ED finally got a nexus and understood Kavitha's role. Now, all of that remains under the purview of investigation. Kavitha will be taken to Delhi I think at 8:45 is her flight, is when we're given to understand. In fact, the entire family of K Kavitha, including K.T. Ramarao, her brother, they have come here in solidarity. In fact, when Kavitha came out of her residence, she also brought her son along in what she says a show of strength. But from here on, what really is essential to know is also timing. Remember, today is also Prime Minister Narendra Modi's big road show here in Hyderabad, and even as he ramps up his speech against corruption, time and again attacking the BRS of being involved in various scams, including attacking K Kavitha also on past occasions. Today, K Kavitha's arrest, in fact, is sending out a big political message as far as the state of Telangana is concerned. K Kavitha is the daughter of former Chief Minister K Chandrashekar Rao, BRS President, and this, in fact, is a big jolt to the family. Now, she's going to be taken to the airport.
Well, obviously, the ED is now cowed by reputations, viewers, and we've seen this. Just stay with me, Swastika. I want to bring in Arunima now. Arunima, of course, you've been covering this story from the very time it broke. You've been also, of course, diligently tracking it in court. What is it really that K Kavitha stands accused of?
So first and foremost, the charge against her being made by the Enforcement Directorate is that she was being represented in the South Group. What was the South Group? This was a cartel of businessmen who allegedly got into a conspiracy with the Aam Aadmi Party functionaries. 100 crore, that was the bribe amount that was mentioned, could be more as per ED and CBI, but at least 100 crore was paid as bribe amount by the South Group to Aam Aadmi Party leaders, Aam Aadmi Party functionaries, and in return, the liquor licenses from Delhi, the rules were bent and liquor licenses were given to these, businessmen. One of the businessmen there was allegedly representing K Kavitha. That's the charge. Who was this businessman? As per the Enforcement Directorate's charge sheet, one person called Arun Pillai, who was part of the South Group, he was actually a face for K Kavitha. So she was the direct beneficiary. Every liquor license that Arun Pillai was being given was actually a liquor license for K Kavitha. So she was a direct beneficiary is the charge. The searches that were carried out today were to figure out if the proceeds of the alleged crime were subsequently laundered, if there were invested into shell companies or they were invested elsewhere. ED was looking at digital devices for papers to complete that chain of evidence against K Kavitha. She's being brought to Delhi. All likelihood that she could be confronted with senior Aam Aadmi Party leaders who are facing arrest in this case. Sanjay Singh, Manish Sisodia. Also a key person in this entire chain is Amit Arora. Amit Arora told ED, confessed to ED how this conspiracy, how this bribe amount, how it all worked out. So possibility that Amit Arora and K Kavitha could be brought face to face as well. That's perhaps the reason why this is not happening in Hyderabad alone. She's being brought to Delhi.
Well, Arunima, let's just talk through a little bit more on the gravity of the alleged offence. All of these are, of course, ED allegations, viewers, and we must underline that. These are allegations. They have to be proven in a court of law. But Arunima, so far, the people who have been arrested in connection with this scam, alleged scam, let me be very clear, alleged scam, have not really found the entire matter going their way in court also, isn't it?
Yes, and the opposition would say that the way the Prevention of Money Laundering Act has been designed, they call it draconian. They even went to the Supreme Court against it, did not get any relief from the Supreme Court. But politically, they continue to attack the act, that's the reason why bail is not being granted. For Manish Sisodia, the Supreme Court considered everything that his counsels were saying, but at the last moment denied bail. Now with K Kavitha's arrest, Sanjay Singh is another example, has been behind bars continuously. So I think K Kavitha's legal team also realizes that an arrest under PMLA means that there is a long road ahead. Getting bail under PMLA is not easy, and especially since there are such evidence that ED is putting forward. I just gave you the name of Amit Arora, somebody who has allegedly confessed. Now it will take time for K Kavitha's legal team to build a defense, because so far the protocol has been that the court allows the Enforcement Directorate time to confront any suspect with an approver, time to go through the evidence that they have, and that cycle could well proceed this way with K Kavitha as well.
Yes, let me just go back to Swastika. Swastika, what happens next here? Is the K Kavitha team going to now approach the courts, or is it too late for this?
Well, remember, K Kavitha's case was to come up in the Supreme Court on the 19th. Her team has maintained that this is a coercive action that's been taken against her, but it was not cited in the record that K Kavitha would be given legal protection till the 19th. In fact, the court had made it very clear that Kavitha would have to comply with either the ED or CBI pertaining to questions regarding to this case. The CBI, remember, had summoned her as a witness. The ED, in fact, had launched this investigation accusing her of being involved in the South Cartel, the detailed description that my colleague Arunima gave. Now, where do things stand from here? Anyway, politically, Kavitha was not going to contest the Lok Sabha elections. And in fact, sources from within the party have also indicated that they were in fact prepared for this. KTR, Kavitha's father, had made it very clear that he is going to fight tooth and nail to ensure justice for his daughter.
Right.
But in a way, the family has sort of left her to fend for herself. And that's why it's going to be a long road ahead as far as K Kavitha is concerned, because of PMLA being involved and her alleged nexus and a possible confrontation with the other accused in this particular case.
Well, let me also tell you, viewers, and I want to bring back Arunima on this. Arunima, these developments will be tracked very closely by another individual, Delhi Chief Minister Mr. Kejriwal. Now, we know that Mr. Kejriwal himself has been summoned more than half a dozen times now by the Enforcement Directorate, and he has been able to, of course, stall this, saying that, look, the matter, my particular matter, is still before the courts, and I would like that to play out. But I suppose, and I'm only guessing here, that K Kavitha will become another important link in the evidentiary scheme of things when it comes to Mr. Kejriwal, doesn't it?
Today, he cited technical grounds to challenge ED's summons. The court order did not go in his favor. So time is running out for him. At least that's what the ED's IO believes. Also, two things that have happened in the past month or so is very clear messaging from the Enforcement Directorate side. One, arrest of Hemant Soren. That gave a clear message that even somebody who's in the Chief Minister's chair cannot escape the long arm of the law. Second, K Kavitha's arrest. Somebody who was evading summons, seeking her own time. ED officials landed at her place, did not give her any time. Within a couple of hours, I think 5:20 is what the time on the arrest memo is. So within a couple of hours, she was arrested. Both of things could be closely studied by Arvind Kejriwal's legal team and his supporters as well, because both have message for the national convener of the Aam Aadmi Party. I can tell you, after speaking to ED officials who are probing the Liquorgate scam, that they feel they have a very strong case against the Aam Aadmi Party and its convener, and that's what they've told the Supreme Court also, that the 100 crore bribe amount was not found in Manish Sisodia's account or Sanjay Singh's account, because the money actually went to the Aam Aadmi Party coffers. That's what ED's team alleges. And with Kavitha's questioning, and if Arvind Kejriwal finally appears before the ED team, perhaps they would be put face to face as well.
Well, Arunima, stay on with me, because we're going to transition a little bit. Even though we're going to keep some of these pictures, especially the ones on the right of K Kavitha being arrested by the Enforcement Directorate team. Remember, the documents suggest that this arrest has happened at 5:30, of course, news coming out. Those are the live pictures of her now being led away from her residence. And you can see a whole bunch of supporters of the TRS/BRS trying to stop the ED team from affecting this arrest. But I think it's a bit too late for that. This car will move out of the porch and of the gate of the residence of K Kavitha and then move towards the airport, where, of course, K Kavitha will be bundled into a plane and brought to Delhi. That's going to happen at around 8:30 in the evening. So it's going to be a late night for K Kavitha. She will obviously be brought into Delhi, given a thorough medical checkup, and then will be kept in ED custody. Obviously, tomorrow, another day, K Kavitha's team will want to move the courts to try and facilitate her bail. Whether they're successful or not remains to be seen. But that's really what is happening. And once again, let me quickly go back to Swastika, who's on the ground there. Swastika, dramatic scenes. They'll play out differently, obviously, in the run-up to this election also.
Definitely, Rahul. In fact, the BRS's morale is already down following its loss in the assembly election. In fact, in the News18 survey, they were very hopeful of winning more than 2 seats. But now, with Kavitha being arrested, she was in fact was the party's in charge. KCR in fact wanted her to build the party right from the beginning, particularly in North Telangana, where the BJP is growing rapidly and the Congress remains strong following its win. But all of that plans now have been completely throttled as far as K Kavitha's own political career is concerned. Remember, she wasn't going to contest the Lok Sabha elections this time around. But with her arrest, this comes as a big blow. And I also want to quickly go back to the big political message that also happens today symbolically. Today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi campaigned in Malkajgiri constituency, and his biggest poll pitch has been corruption. Corruption in the state of Telangana. Earlier, he had in fact targeted BRS party Kavitha too for being involved in liquor scam case. And today, when the corruption message is being sent out loud and clear by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, here on the other hand, you have one of BRS's tallest leaders, the daughter of CTR, being detained and arrested for, in the liquor scam case. And from here on, her political future at this juncture is extremely blurry.
Absolutely. Look, the ED is back in the conversation, viewers. Arunima stays with us. I'm just going to come back to her in just 2 minutes or so. The ED is back in the conversation, viewers, but it's also been in the conversation in the context of another very significant story. The Supreme Court today has come down very heavily on the SBI, the State Bank of India, for not providing enough information on electoral bonds. Now, viewers, we're going to show you a bunch of visuals. The Supreme Court on the one side, obviously, viewers, the opposition that's raising questions, and the ED action against K Kavitha. We're going to show you that, and we're going to just transition a little bit, keeping the K Kavitha story in our sights, because it forms really the backdrop of what we're going to talk about for the next 15 minutes or so. The Supreme Court, viewers, has lamented the fact that the State Bank of India has not yet given the unique code number of electoral bonds that can help link the donor with the party financial donation has been made to. Now, this is a very significant story. We are talking about the electoral bond controversy. The Supreme Court says not enough has been done by the SBI. Need more information. We need to be able to link the money that political parties have received to the donor that has given that money. The information is crucial as it allows the public to judge if the money donated resulted in a quid pro quo. The lists of donors have been put up by the Election Commission of India. Even though there is no data yet linking the donations to a political party, the list does raise some disturbing questions. Viewers, first, top 20 donors account for just under half of the total 12,156 crore purchased by them through electoral bonds between 2019 and 2024. When one dissects the list, it appears that 3 of the top 5 donors bought bonds with the ED. As I said, the ED is back in the conversation, with the Enforcement Directorate and income tax knocking on their door. And once again, viewers, in the south, as we were showing you those pictures, and we're going to go back to those pictures in just a few seconds, K Kavitha, the latest politician within the ED net. For instance, viewers, 5 days after the ED attached rupees 409 crore assets, Future Gaming bought bonds worth 100 crores. In total, Future Gaming bought 1,300 crores worth of electoral bonds. Mega Engineering, the second of the big donors, was raided by agencies, also bought the electoral bonds. In 2019, just months after it was raided, it bought its first tranche of bonds worth 50 crores, viewers. In total, the Hyderabad-based company, note, Hyderabad-based company had bought bonds worth 20 crores over 6 years. Both the state and central government, so both the TRS government in Telangana as well as, viewers, the BJP or the state party rather, which is the BRS TRS party in Telangana, which is in government in Telangana, and of course the BJP at the center, have taken donations from this entity. And viewers, governments there in both the state and at the center have given big contracts to this company. Even Vedanta Group was under the scan of central agencies, and it too bought bonds within a year of it being investigated. It is the third largest donor. Of course, the BJP isn't the only beneficiary. Several parties have received huge funds through EBs, sometimes disproportionate to their side. And there's a whole list, viewers, which we're going to put out of parties that have received these funds. The BJP has got 6,000 crores, the TMC 1,600 crores, the Congress 1,400 crores, the BRS 1,200 crores, the BRS which is in the news right now, viewers, BJD 775 crores, DMK 639 crores, and one of the shadiest donators, viewers, has also got links to the DMK. So that is what is being said, viewers. That is what is being alleged, viewers. It's not a confirmed fact as yet. But let me just go across to Arunima. Arunima, who's there with us. Arunima, the Supreme Court coming down hard on the SBI, saying that, look, you haven't done enough according to what we demanded. We needed the electoral number, the bond number, so that we can correlate who donated to which party.
The case that the opposition is building is that a lot of people, a lot of companies who donated to the government or to the Bharatiya Janata Party, this is the opposition's case, they're trying to draw a parallel with the ED and CBI and income tax searches with the donation amount. And I think that they will keep this in mind as and when that unique bond number is revealed. If the SBI reveals that, that is the case that they will try to put together, that look, this particular donation was made to the Bharatiya Janata Party, and around the same time period, the CBI or the IT or the ED went knocking on their doors. This arrest of K Kavitha, the summons that are going to Arvind Kejriwal, all of that is part of that grand narrative that the opposition is trying to build, that ED and CBI are not acting as independent investigation organization, they are working as a political arm of the government. The electoral bond issue, the latest order from the Supreme Court, will all be used by the opposition to push that narrative further in every political meeting, every political rally perhaps.
Well, there you go, viewers. A very dramatic day as far as news. The lists of donors are out. The list of parties who received the donations are out. We just cannot relate the donor to the party. We don't know which donor donated to the party. At the same time, in Hyderabad, viewers, pictures coming from the residence of K Kavitha. She is, of course, one of the scions of the BRS. She has been arrested. She's a member of parliament also. She has been arrested and whisked away by the Enforcement Directorate. There you can see her being hugged by her relatives and those of her supporters. She's also obviously extremely upset right now, given the fact that others in the Liquorgate scam who have been arrested, high-ranking politicians who have been arrested, have not really had their way in the court of law. But viewers, the ED remains the common thread between the big story and, of course, the story that is unfolding in Telangana. The big story with regards to electoral bonds, because the opposition says that agencies were set after various companies. Those companies then gave money, and there's a quid pro quo. There are all sorts of other elements and wires that are joining and connecting into this story. And of course, viewers, you have ED action on the ground against once a very influential politician, someone who's allegedly responsible or has played allegedly a big role in the liquor scandal. There she is, showing us the V sign. She is waving to the cameras and of course now being taken to the airport, from where she will be brought to Delhi. Now viewers, the EB scheme was eventually struck down by the Supreme Court for not being transparent enough. Rules were tweaked so that donations could be released from any source, and the cap on their amount was also done away with. Foreign entities could also donate funds through EBs, through their Indian subsidiaries. This, many felt, opened the doors to round-tripping of funds. The donors' names were to be kept secret. Information regarding their identity was only known to the SBI, and many felt that because the government has in theory a backdoor to the SBI, it could access the data to the advantage of others. But given that political parties have gladly accepted money through the EB route, they all stand to be equally brushed by taint, if at all you can call it that. Now let's open this up, viewers. Let's ask some of our guests. We're going to keep the K Kavitha visuals also on air for the moment. Anand Ranganathan is here with us. The BJP is represented by Syed Zafar Islam. We have with us Dr. Suman Siraman. We have Tehseen Poonawala. Let me first begin with you, Mr. Syed. Let me begin with you, Mr. Islam. It's a fundamental question tonight. The opposition, many are saying that, look, agencies like the ED were used tactically against various companies to soften them up, and then those companies suddenly decided to give you donations, and you have racked up all this money by using your agencies. How do you defend this?
It is absolutely baseless, Rahul. There is absolutely no merit in what the opposition is making this kind of allegation. Fact that these political parties are accepting money from every single donor who wants to donate to those political parties or to them. Let me tell you, the effort was of the government to bring transparency, and it is now a very transparent process. Of course, it can be improved further. I'm not saying that there is no headroom for improvement, but it can be improved further. But we have achieved something which is not evident from the fact that...
No, but how do you explain this? How do you explain this? Mr. Islam, how do you explain that 3 of the top 5 donors bought bonds with the Enforcement Directorate and the Income Tax Department knocking on their door? I mean, just 5 days after ED attaches 409 crore assets of future gaming, it buys bonds worth 100 crores. Now, we don't know if those bonds have come to you, if they've gone to some other political entity, I don't know. Neither does anyone on this panel, because that correlation has not been made, because enough data has not been supplied. But many people are asking these questions.
Rahul, let me respond to that question. See, whenever any organization wants to donate to the political parties, what they do, they take a piece of paper and then calculate how many legislators you have, how many member of parliament you have, how many, whether it's a pan-India party, whether it's a state restricted to one state, that party, and based on certain formula they arrive at amount, and then based on that they donate. Ask anybody from the Tata group, or all the large group, all the large
Don't
donors.
take the audiences.
You will find that they are providing. No, they are donating to every single political parties based on the formula they adopt. I don't know this future gaming has...
So can I ask a simple question? Let me ask Dr. Ranganathan a simple question. Look, it's difficult to suggest that one is guiltier than the other. All political parties have got this money from these so-called donies. But I just want to ask you, Dr. Ranganathan, you're an observer of politics. You're not a politician. I just want to ask you, why do all these big corporates donate money to these political parties across the board. I mean, what is it in for them? Are they charitable by nature? Do they believe that these political parties have the best vision going and that there's going to be a lot of change because of this benefaction that they're offering by the way of money? What is it really? What's the motivation?
It's obviously quid pro quo, Rahul, and I'm not just being cynical. My very good friend, the BJP spokesperson, has inadvertently in detail laid out the plan using which the companies actually first calculate how much money is to be given and to whom, how many MPs and MLAs are there. So it is, to use the Hindi word, dhanda, as simple as that. But, you know, I have three things to say on this issue, Rahul, and it's important because let me be very honest out here. This is a scam multiple times over, and everyone, including the Honorable Supreme Court, is in the wrong here. I will explain. Look, I welcome the Supreme Court decision because for years I have been an advocate that electoral bonds should not be anonymous, for the simple reason that the political parties that garner the anonymous donation seek the public's vote to get them elected. And after they are elected, the public has a right to know whether any of their actions subsequent to their coming to power are in the favor of any of the companies that donated to them anonymously. As an example, a political party gets our vote to get elected on the promise that it will maintain the forest land as it is. And then once it is elected, it allows a mining company to mine in that forest. The public has a right to know, because we had a skin in the game. The public has a right to know whether that mining company gave millions or billions in donation to that political party. This goes to the heart of what is conflict of interest, and I am aghast that politicians don't get this. Number two, I profoundly disagree on first principles with the Supreme Court decision that the names that were anonymous should be disclosed retrospectively. It is profoundly unfair to the people who made donations on the guarantee that they were to be anonymous. I don't like any law being applied retrospectively for this very reason, be it retrospective tax like Vodafone that incidentally Supreme Court voted against, or a retrospective amendment that allows parties to escape FCRA violations, if at all. All those names of donors should have been disclosed to the Supreme Court only. And if the Supreme Court correlated donations with political parties and found out that millions were given by someone who then directly benefited from the actions of a political party, the Supreme Court should have acted. Number three, finally, I ask a very simple question, and my good friend Dr. Raman and Tehseen are here. If I believe that a company is corrupt and illegal and should be shut down, what would you say if I were to continue to invest in that company and buy its stocks? You would be appalled, wouldn't you? Why is it then that the Congress and the Trinamool and the DMK that were outraging on the anonymity of the electoral bonds and wanted them to be scrapped, why is it that all these parties obtained thousands of crores through the same anonymous electoral bonds? What kind of hypocrisy is that allows them to be this shameless?
That's a point, Tehseen Poonawalla. It's an important point. Dr. Raman, it's an important point. Now, I was reading an interview a little while ago with one of the champions who went to the Supreme Court and said that this scheme should be shut down. He was one of the people, one of the activists who just not your Congress leader.
Correct.
He was one of the activists, bona fide activists, who said, look, we need to shut this down. And he said, if only the opposition had refused to accept any money through the EBs, we would have actually had the government abandon this scheme, because they would be the only ones and it would have looked awful. But they didn't do it. They didn't stand with us. And therefore, the opposition has let down the country equally. Yes, Doctor. One second, Dr. Ranganath. Yeah, you're saying something, Dr. Ranganath.
With due respect, I must say, grudgingly, I have enormous respect for CPIM because I think they were the ones who refused to take money through anonymous electoral bonds. Respect to them.
The Marxists. Well, you know, I have to say, viewers, a lot of the unfortunate bad stuff that happens in politics doesn't actually happen through the ECBs. You know, horse trading is not funded by ECBs. Let me tell you that. It happens through parallel mechanisms. So there is all that is happening also. But yes, Tehseen Poonawalla and Dr. Raman, you go first, Tehseen Poonawalla. Answer this question. Why was the Congress so open to taking this so-called tainted money that is under the table and it can be used for this and quid pro quos and all of that?
No, Rahul, we are mixing the woods for the trees. No political party, all political parties, particularly the Congress, particularly Rahul Gandhi, stood against ECB. They stood against the ECB electoral bonds because they said that it is non-transparent. It does not allow in for a transparency to come in. But it was a legitimate way the government had created to give money donations to the parties, which is the only parties today asking for investigation. The opposition, the BJP doesn't want. Why does the BJP does not want? We just saw Kavitha Rao. Kavitha Rao has been made an example of by the ED. It's come out right now. Why has this action happened right now? It's happened right now for 3 reasons. Number one, to show and make the opposition quiver with what's happening, to show how ED can be used, and 3, obviously to create the political sympathy for the BRS a little bit in Telangana by this logic. But the ED action is precisely what is being spoken about. All the donors or the top donors were facing action from ED or IT. So you get an action, you get an action from the ED, you go donate it to a political party, which is the only political party that connects the ED. Not Rahul Gandhi, not the Congress, not the CPI, not the DMK.
So the 1600 crores that went to the TMC,
could be,
is that the BJP saying ED ab unko karo or fir let's fund the TMC?
No, it could also be. It could also be infrastructure people who got contracts at TMC but knew the ED won't go after them.
Is that the same then? I mean, if
the one who built the tunnel where our workers nearly collapsed, where the Honorable Prime Minister to step in, has been donating to which political party? We need to know. And they were praised in Parliament by the BJP.
Let me ask you, is it not possible that the 1200 crores or whatever it is exactly that the Congress got was above quid pro quos?
One second. Who's asking for an investigation? The Congress. Who's refusing an investigation?
It doesn't matter.
The BJP.
A lot of people ask for investigation that go nowhere. We also know this.
Forget the Congress, forget the BJP.
That's all grandstanding. Politicians are experts at grandstanding.
Forget the politicians. The State Bank of India chairperson. Shouldn't he have stepped down? On whose instructions is he hiding these instructions or this information? The Supreme Court made it explicitly clear everything.
He said it was physically difficult. It's
fundamentally difficult. And yet this was called a transparent method. If it was so fundamentally difficult, how is this transparent? You're either pregnant or not pregnant. Either this was easy, transparent, or this was impossible.
But aren't you applying the yardstick selectively?
No, I'm not. I'm saying put everything out. If Congress has got a quid pro quo, if Congress is blackmailed, they too should be prosecuted. Who's defending the Congress? Okay. Is SBI chairperson defending the Congress or the BJP?
No. Dr. Raman, we don't know. We can't cast aspersions. We can't cast aspersions. We can't cast aspersions.
I am casting aspersions on the ED. What happened with
maybe
Kavitha
it's people's
is an
guilty
example.
conscience. Hang on. Maybe it's people's guilty conscience. They want to appease it and they're donating in the hope that something will happen. Hang on.
Yeah. And ED was just coming at the house for chai coffee.
Dr. Raman.
And to hear Mann Ki Baat.
Dr. Raman, Tehseen Poonawala's basic thesis is that the ED has determined all of this. The ED raids, people quake in their shoes and they donate to the BJP as if 1600 crores that went to the TMC, as if some 1300 crores that went to the Congress, as if the 800 or 700 crores that went to the other political parties count for nothing.
No, let us look at it very clearly, Rahul. There is a fundamental difference. These parties, the regional parties, DMK, nationally the Congress, they were all branded as corrupt parties, scamsters, and they were voted out on multiple occasions. And the Congress has still been struggling to overcome what was called the scam of the century in 2G and this and that, right? So Colgate and Commonwealth Games and all of that, right? So the point was, the BJP was the one which claimed that we are giving clean governance. And I'm appalled that Dr. Anand Ranganathan says it's okay, it's a quid pro quo for a party that claimed to be a party with a difference.
Excuse me.
This party, one minute,
please
let me finish.
Please don't put words in my mouth. Dr. Raman, please.
You did say, of course, there is a quid pro quo for everybody, right?
He's saying it from a guilty point of view.
I'm not rationalizing it, justifying it. I'm saying every donation is on the basis of quid pro quo. I'm castigating it. Please.
Look,
don't turn it around.
You take regional parties. Clearly, there is some element of contracts which may have been given at the state level.
Yeah, but I'm not understanding.
Dr. Raman,
one minute.
My point is to say that we are a party with a difference and we have given clean governance over 10 years and then say, yes, there is a quid pro quo and like everybody else, we also take money.
Okay, so you can't say there can be whataboutery. Okay,
You
look,
can't
viewers,
have whataboutery because
okay,
these
look,
are
viewers,
the parties which are
remember
branded as
that we
corrupt.
are operating, okay, one second, we are operating in an information vacuum right now. Now, whether it was deliberately created by the SBI or not, etc., I can't say. Neither should any panelist here impute motives. SBI is not here to defend its fair name. But, viewers, the point is that it is a rotten system. And the system needs to go. Now, what replaces it is a key question. That is a conversation we should all be having. And if there was quid pro quo, viewers, if it is proven after the donations are linked to the political parties and the weight of evidence begins to suggest that investigation must be ordered. Fundamentally, Dr. Ranganathan, very quickly before I move on. Yes.
Yes, very quickly, Dr. Raman is completely wrong because I was castigating every political party.
You were.
And I was insinuating every company because they are donating
you have
in
said,
lieu of.
you have said blanket that this is a bad scheme and everyone is to blame. There's no whataboutery here.
The shell companies have
Other
donated
One
to
second,
government.
one second. Look, there are, you can't say all of these things. Please, Tehseen, now you can, no, 1 minute, I'm going to stop. No, please, I need to move on.
Party I know claim that we are giving corruption-free governance.
Okay, one second. No. Every party says this, from the Aam Aadmi Party down to the Congress. The Congress has made the biggest noise around corruption, saying that Modani, and all these people are in cahoots. In our governments, when we give contracts, it's all smelling of roses. So let's not, no, Dr. Aman, now look, everyone has been caught in the hammam without their clothes on. The emperor has no clothes.
Say that all parties are equal.
Yeah, they're all equal and they cannot be whataboutery. My point is, if there is a quid pro quo and we need to wait for the information to come out, there is going to be a court hearing very soon. The SBI has to come out. Let's reserve the right to attack political parties fairly once we have the numbers, whether it's in the opposition or the government. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan, very quickly, Sai Deepak is waiting for me. I need to go to him. Yes.
Right. No, it is outrageous that the electoral bonds were made anonymous. It is outrageous that the government said we are going to be transparent. At the same time, it had a public sector bank with all the secrets of who is donating. It is outrageous that the Supreme Court is acting retrospectively, and it is outrageous if a correlation comes. It is absolutely clear that ED was being used to pressurize the company. There I said it.
Absolutely.
So who controls
One
ED?
second.
Who
Look,
controls
there are
ED?
many information. Look, I myself are suffering from a state government and its acolytes. So let's not get into all this. You know, there are enough people out there doing their thing. So let's just wait for the details to come out. Yes, this is an wake-up alarm bell actually that has been sounded. And we need to hear it, all of us. And these lists that are coming out are good for our polity. Let us able to establish where the money went, who it went to, and what for. That would be really, viewers, a boost to the democratic principle. And let me also tell you, all those people who constantly criticize India's democracy, say that all institutions are suborned. Well, they dare not stand up today and say this. Because look at what the Supreme Court has done. It stood up for principle. That means one of the institutions in the state at least has not been suborned. I want to see which other country is as transparent as this. Let's move on, viewers. The CAA is once again before the courts. The Supreme Court has decided to hear on March 19 the batch of petitions filed questioning the law's legality and seeking an immediate stay on its rollout. There are several reasons why these petitioners, viewers, have approached the courts. Some of these reasons have been articulated in 2020 by the son of the sitting Chief Justice of India, who is also an advocate. A 2020 video of the speech by Abhinav Chandrachud, the son of Chief Justice of India, Chandrachud, has gone viral. In this speech, the CJI's son has raised at least 6 objections to the CAA, calling it ultra virus of Article 14. Now, viewers, this is his belief. Let's put these objections one by one to J. Sai Deepak, another lawyer who has provided an equally articulate defense of the CAA. So on one side, you have Justice Chandrachud's son, who has come out and said the CAA is ultra-virus because it violates the tenets of Article 14 of the Constitution. On the other side, you have J. Sai Deepak, who's going to give us a point-by-point rebuttal. So now let's just walk through each of these objections. The first objection raised by Mr. Chandrachud Jr. is ultra virus of Article 14. A compelling argument can be made to suggest that CA is unconstitutional. He says, consider Article 14 of the Constitution, which grants every person, not merely every citizen, the right to equality and equal protection of law within the territory of India. But CA leaves out many groups of persons. This is what he is saying. Let's get J. Sai Deepak in. J. Sai Deepak, Mr. Abhinav Chandrachud says this article, this CAA is violative of Article 14. Your response?
So I think the first point that needs to be considered is whether the principles of equality under Article 14 are applicable in the context of allowing people access or entry to Bharat. I think in 2020, I had written an article in the Open magazine addressing this specific issue when the controversy surrounding the CAA was raging and when Article 14 was being raised on a regular basis. Okay. The point is, we must realize that principles of equality under Article 14, when they are sought to be applied in the context of the right of foreigners to enter India, that takes away the sovereign power of the Indian state to take a decision and apply its own security considerations and filters as part of this decision-making process. In other words, when we seek to give asylum or extend our citizenship to foreigners, then the government reserves the prerogative to take a decision depending on its own considerations. And a significant part of that calculus involves security considerations, which is why across the world, even under international conventions, it would be a far-fetched argument to contend that principles of equality under, let's say, national constitutions equally apply to citizens abroad. Of course, I'm bound to be told that since Article 14 speaks of person and not citizens, therefore the rights under Article 14 are equally available. But you must realize that the question of, let's say, access to different parts of the country falls under a specific provision and specific entry of the Constitution, which gives the central government significant prerogative compared to all other aspects of the Constitution. I'll give you a simpler example from an internal perspective. Assume for a moment that somebody wants to enter certain tribal areas in the northeast, or somebody wants to enter certain portions which are seen as portions beyond the ILPs or the inner line permits. Even if you happen to be a citizen of Bharat otherwise, your ability to travel to those parts or your ability to own property in those parts, your ability to marry in those parts, all of these aspects are significantly regulated by the 6th schedule of the Constitution coupled with other legislations. So if these are the restrictions that apply to an existing citizen of Bharat in respect of travel within Bharat to another part of Bharat, to argue that a foreigner has an unfettered right and the right to be treated at par with everybody else as far as access to a citizenship or even refugeeship or asylum is concerned, I'm sorry to say, wouldn't be a right argument. I don't think this holds water, because what people do is that they conveniently paste the provision of Article 14 when it comes to equality and says, look at it, it speaks of equality. I think there was one colleague of yours from the same profession but from a different channel. When the CA debate was raging, she chose to extract Article 14 on her Twitter feed and say, this is what Article 14 says. So to which a lot of people pointed out, well, going by the plain language of the article, you shouldn't have reservations, you shouldn't have religion-specific laws, you shouldn't have let's say, schemes and programs which benefit a particular community. How is it that when it comes to those aspects, somehow this express language of Article 14 misses your filters? So that's why Article 14 is a question of application of the law to a specific context. In different contexts, different, let's say, outcomes emanate. That is something that people don't understand. At least, let's say, some people don't understand, which is when you speak of equality, you're looking at equality in the eyes of the law for equals, people who are equally placed. Not all refugees and not all people coming from different backgrounds because of different circumstances are to be grouped under the same class. That is the fundamental argument.
The other objection raised by Mr. Chandrachud is this, that residence required in India is reduced by the CA. So anyone else who wants to apply to be a citizen of India by naturalization has to reside in India for 11 years, but for somebody who falls within the CA, the residency requirement is only 5 years. And he takes an example. He talks about Parsis. He said, what if a Parsi flees religious persecution from Iran? That Parsi has to wait 11 years to get citizenship, but a Parsi that he has to flee from Afghanistan gets to become a citizen in 5 years. He said it makes no sense.
See, again, each of these sublims are dependent on the presumption of Article 14 being uniformly applicable across the board. Once you dislodge the presumption that Article 14 and the equality contained therein is not applicable in the same way as in other contexts, particularly when you speak of refugeeship and asylum and citizenship, then this argument that you must treat an Afghan fleeing Taliban, a Parsi fleeing from Iran, and a Hindu fleeing from Pakistan at par with each other, that is not necessary. There is no such provision. In fact, there are judgments of high courts as well as the Supreme Court which specifically say, in the context of, let's say, refugee ship or asylum ship or the treatment of a foreigner within this country, Article 14's application is very, very narrow, which is to say you can at best question arbitrariness or whimsicalness, but if there are other considerations, those are not even open to judicial review. Okay? So I don't think we need to suffer from this kind of a guilt, because the impression that is being given is that everyone who wishes to flee from a particular situation and seek the asylum of Bharat or seek refuge in Bharat is equally entitled to the same kind of treatment. That is a legally flawed position. There is no basis for it under the Constitution.
What about the fact that it excludes Jews, atheists, agnostics, Muslim minorities, even sexual minorities, like transgenders, for example? That's what Abhinav Chandrachud has said. He says, we have not included atheists, we have excluded agnostics, who don't know whether there is God or not. You've left out Muslims who may be considered minorities in Pakistan and Bangladesh.
So I think what people miss when they look at the CA with, let's say, a hyper sensitive lens is that they forget that the doors under the Citizenship Act are otherwise open. The only thing is, the accelerated path which speaks of a reduced residency period or domiciliary period for the purposes of grant of citizenship under the CA, only that is the, let's say, the primary differential. So which means if under the traditional path, you're looking at 11-year residency before you seek to apply for Bharat citizenship, you perhaps are looking at a 6-year period or a 5-year period under the CAA. That is the primary differential. Now, the government may take a position that considering the dire nature of the situation of some of these communities, the situation is such that they have to be extended a special, let's say, treatment or an accelerated treatment. Now, I understand that there's a particular video going on which says that, oh, well, Israel will take care of the Jews. Frankly speaking, that is honestly not a bad argument to make, because that is a country which has been established as a Jewish state, which means India can also lean on Israel to address the condition of certain communities who see Israel as their natural homeland, while India takes responsibility for those people who are seen as the natural, let's say, to whom Bharat comes across as their natural homeland. In this regard, some might say, well, how do Christians of Pakistan treat Bharat as their natural homeland? Because if you see the manner in which they had to convert to that particular religion in order to seek international support at the time of the partition, and you look at how they are treated, and you also look at how they're retained there for not religious purposes, but for caste purposes, because there's a statement, very infamous statement made by the founders of Pakistan, that some of these people have to stay back to clean the toilets of Pakistan. These kind of statements were made. It becomes evident that conversion was an option of force or an option taken out of sheer desperation and it wasn't an option of choice. So let me make this argument very clear. No community or no member of any community can claim equal rights under Article 14 to have access to our Citizenship Amendment Act. Independent of that, they have the right, they certainly have the ability to seek, let's say, citizenship under the conventional path. That door isn't closed to the Jews of Pakistan, to the Ahmadiyas of Pakistan, to the LGBTQ members of Pakistan, to the non-believers and atheists of Pakistan, whoever they may be.
Well, Jesai Deepak putting his points across. Viewers, these are two sides. You can consider them. We'll try and reconnect right after this short break. We're back in about 3 minutes. Don't go away.
in the ocean, or whether it is, landing back on Earth. And in order to prove to itself that it's safe enough, it needs to do it in one of these test flights. So that's that last step that it did not accomplish today, but will hopefully accomplish in the near future.
I mean, that's definitely been something that Elon Musk has promoted ever since he introduced the idea of the Starship rocket, was that this would be a vehicle that would eventually give us the capabilities to send humans to Mars and to have a sort of ongoing transport between Earth and Mars. And so it does seem to be part of Elon's long-term vision. But for now, I think we're going to just have to wait and see how it does and how NASA's Artemis program fares in terms of becoming a sustainable program of lunar exploration. I would say that with this technology, if you can manage to make lunar exploration and lunar habitation sustainable, then yeah, Mars might be a logical next step.
We're starting to hear some good news that it looks like winds are not going to hold us up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This was definitely a milestone flight. It hit a lot of targets that it did not hit with the last integrated test flight. It was able to launch with all 33 Raptor engines. It was able to do a complete separation of the booster from Starship. It was able to relight some of those engines and do a test of the payload bay doors, opening and closing them. It didn't quite get some of those final milestones, that is landing or attempting a soft splashdown in the ocean, nor was the Starship able to return to the Earth, to re-entry. However, it did make it to space, and that's the biggest milestone. It made it to orbit. And so this was a successful flight in my mind.
Now, the next major milestone is going to be a hot staging maneuver. Again, we're going to be doing that in just about 90 seconds. To do that, we're going to shut down.
Though, I mean, congrats to the team. Making it this far is farther than we've gone.
Absolute Star Command. There you see it again. This is our Mission Control Center at.
And then, there were also a couple of problems that happened with the booster falling sort of uncontrolled into the ocean, and then the vehicle burning up on re-entry. But otherwise, this was the most successful flight so far. And what it speaks to is, the eventual capability of using this vehicle to launch heavy payloads and cruise on longer trips, like trips to the moon, such as what NASA's Artemis program is designed to do.
We're getting a few engines. So the heating and the loads that Starship is going through right now are what it would be getting if it were recovering from an orbital mission. And just the fact that we have views through entry, this is incredible. The heat shield tiles doing their work. We talked about
SpaceX's philosophy is more that, they don't expect everything to go right. They don't really... or at least that's what they say publicly, is that they don't expect everything to go right, but they expect things to improve over time. And that's worked well for them with their Falcon 9.
Bharat is rising. अब भारत की विकास यात्रा रुकने वाली नहीं है. Watch PM Modi share his thoughts on India's emergence as a global power at this year's Rising Bharat Summit. Dream Sports presents News18 Rising Bharat Summit in partnership with Hindustan Times, 19th and 20th March.
Co-powered by now very profitable for the company, and I think they're expecting the same thing to be happening in this case as well. And one thing that these launches definitely have done is that they've drummed up a lot of public enthusiasm for SpaceX and for this new super heavy launch vehicle.
Now, Starship is a completely different vehicle. It's meant to be completely reusable at some point. It is meant to bring a whole lot more payload to space. It's even envisioned to bring 100 tons to the surface of the moon. Like, that's what we're talking about, something that's never been fathomed before. It's also larger, much larger than Space Shuttle. So Space Shuttle had at its capacity 7 people, 7 crew. We don't really know the official numbers with Starship, but it's envisioned that it could take 100 people or more in Starship. SpaceX also intends to take humans to the surface of Mars. In addition, there are other customers. There's the Department of Defense, and there's private customers that intend to take use of Starship. Starship is the biggest and most powerful rocket ever built. It's bigger than Saturn V, which took astronauts to the moon in the 1960s and 70s.
And there you see it again. This is our Mission Control Center at. We heard a call out for nominal orbital insertion, which is incredible. Look at these views, Dan.
A 19-story tall Saturn was pushed into space by its 1.5 million pounds of thrust as it spouted a flame longer than a football field. Missile men monitored.
Pretty accurate that, back in the 1960s and 1970s, we had these super heavy launch capabilities with the Saturn V rocket, and we were able to use that rocket to send people to the moon in the Apollo program. And what, rockets like Starship and then also NASA's SLS rocket, they're giving us that capability back again. And, what we know is it's an incredibly expensive type of rocket to build and operate. And I think the question that SpaceX is taking on is, can you reduce costs? Can you make it profitable? And I think you could expect to see, an increased cadence of launches after this. And then once we've got, confidence that this is a safe launch vehicle, you'll start seeing humans fly.
SpaceX needs to prove that Starship is 100% safe before it takes astronauts on board. And in order to do that, it needs to make sure it understands how the vehicle re-enters the atmosphere, both parts of the vehicle, the booster, and then the vehicle that's on top, the actual Starship. It needs to safely be able to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere and then land, whether it's landing in the ocean or whether it is, landing back on Earth. And in order to prove to itself that it's safe enough, it needs to do it in one of these test flights. So that's that last step that it did not accomplish today, but will hopefully accomplish in the near future.
All
right. That's definitely been something that Elon Musk has promoted ever since he introduced the idea of the Starship rocket, was that this would be a vehicle that would eventually give us the capabilities to send humans to Mars and to have a sort of ongoing transport between Earth and Mars. And so it does seem to be part of Elon's long-term vision. But for now, I think we're going to just have to wait and see how it does and how NASA's Artemis program fares in terms of becoming a sustainable program of lunar exploration. I would say that with this technology, if you can manage to make lunar exploration and lunar habitation sustainable, then yeah, Mars might be a logical next step.
We're starting to hear some good news that it looks like winds are not going to hold us up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Another big political arrest, viewers, this time in Telangana. It is K Kavitha, arrested by the Enforcement Directorate, the daughter of the BRS chief, KCR. Let's go straight across to Swastika for the latest. We were seeing those visuals a little while back of K Kavitha being driven away by the Enforcement Directorate team from her residence. What plays out next? What's happening on the ground, Kavitha? Swastika, sorry.
Well, Kavitha is on her way to the airport at around 8:45. She's going to take a flight to New Delhi, and from there things will pan out. as per the ED's procedure, she will be in fact taken tomorrow or tonight perhaps for a medical examination and then produced before the court tomorrow. But as things stand right now, K Kavitha being arrested in the Delhi liquor scam case comes as a big jolt, not just to the party but also to her personally. Now, what is she primarily accused of? I'm going to reiterate. She has been accused of being part of South Lobby, which paid kickbacks to the tune of 100 crores to a person named Vijay Nair to facilitate licenses and to profiteer from